Hello, Ravenites. Welcome to episode 1 of Meet a Raven Miner featuring Dan and Sarah Jenkins. I'm your host, Hype Man. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe button, and we'll get into it. Like this, where we're just kind of hanging out and, talking about crypto. So, when did you guys first, get into cryptocurrency, and whether that's, starting to collect it or mine it or any facet?
Man, it was a long time ago. I heard about Bitcoin really early on. Like, I want to say like 2010, 2011. Because being in construction and real estate, we really got hammered in 2008 with the Great Recession, or whatever you want to call it, and the housing collapse. I mean, we had to start from zero again. After that, practically lost everything. We're lucky to keep our house.
Wow.
in 2008, it was bad, and so with that though, I had kind of gotten connected with like this online prepper community that I was just kind of like, how bad is this going to get, monetarily, and that was when Ron Paul was really big about talking about ending the Fed and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I was on some prepper website where Bitcoin came up right away, right when it came out. And so I've known about it for a really long time, but we probably bought our first Bitcoin in 2012, maybe 2013. I don't know. We got a bunch of it on MT Gox, and then subsequently lost it all with the hack that happened. I don't even remember, really, honestly. I don't even remember how much we had on there, but I'm sure it was, at this point, it'd be substantial. But but then I was just kind of looking back, because I was reading through the questions you sent over, and I was looking back at some photos and stuff of our first rig, and I was trying to think about how long ago it was when we bought them or built the first one. But the first one we built was right after the 580s came out, and so that was right in the middle of 2017, and just kind of thought it was something kind of fun and cool to do, not really thinking it was going to be profitable or whatever. I set it up in my office downtown and got it in it. Actually, I built it, and then it sat there for about a month because I couldn't figure out how to install the Geth wallet and get everything working out. Because, like, I'm somewhat technical, but I'm not like super technical. And this guy that I was following, just his instructions were pretty technical stuff. But so then that happened, and then we started mining F, and some, like, I don't even remember what it was, like Sia coin, and you could dual mine Decred, and
I did that too.
And then Music coin, or some stupid stuff like that. And then so then I think I had like 5 or 6 rigs at the office. And it was mostly R9 380s, because I was able to pick those up on eBay for like $50 a pop.
Wow.
And then after that, it was like the middle of 2018, I think, is when because I was looking for something that maybe we could mine and we could get a whole bunch of, even if it wasn't super profitable, but I could mine it and just get a huge bag of it.
Right.
And that's when I came across Ravencoin. So.
And it was at GPU mining at that point?
Yep. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. It wasn't like right away. I mean,
right.
I wish I would have gotten to it right away. That would have been pretty amazing. But
pretty early though, still.
It was very, we got a pretty hefty bag from all our early mining on it. So yeah.
Well, that's really cool. And so you guys kind of got to watch, Ravencoin, the blockchain, develop itself and get the assets going on there. So can you talk a little bit about, how you felt when you saw that assets coming about, and did that change and it spark something? Is that when you guys started thinking about doing the projects, or when did that come about?
That's pretty much what sparked it. As soon as that asset layer came out on testnet, we decided we wanted to tokenize some real estate.
We sat there for a whole day just making assets.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Well, so that's the thing. A lot of our community knows you guys and knows exactly what you're doing, but the point of this is to get it out there to everybody. So if you could talk about how you're planning to tokenize on Ravencoin and what projects you're working on.
Yeah, so our first project, we're tokenizing a single family home in River Falls, Wisconsin. We've partnered with DigiShares and Andrew Bull with Bull Blockchain Law to make sure we're compliant. And of course, DigiShares is building our platform. And that back end of the website is done. We're still waiting on a couple of small things before we're ready to launch. We're hoping, probably in the next 4 to 6 weeks, would you say?
I think, well, it could be as early as 3, I think, is what we're at. And to give a little background on that, DigiShares is a company out of Denmark. And they produce a white label marketplace for real estate tokenization. The CEO is Klaus Skanning, and I contacted him early 2021. It was like February.
Yeah, about February, a year ago.
Yeah, almost. About a year ago. And I said I loved everything you're doing. It looks great. I want to purchase a white label platform from you, but we have to use Ravencoin, because at the time they were using Ethereum and Polymath, and Klaus was he was really he had heard of Ravencoin. He knew exactly what Ravencoin was, and he was very receptive of it, and he was kind of excited to add another chain to his be able to offer another blockchain to his platform.
Yeah, from what he was saying yesterday, it seemed like if there's a user that wants to add a blockchain, that they're going to try to find a way to do it, which just seems like, he said he's not super technical, but as a businessman, he's like, yeah, if you want to do it, we're going to do it for you. So I respect that. That's so cool that he's like that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think adding other blockchain, Ravencoin's just different, Obviously, there's no smart contracts, and everything is built, on the base layer of the blockchain, asset wise. And I think that because originally we were kind of planning on our platform going live in August of 2021, so like 4 months ago, and I think the whole asset creation and the restricted assets and being able to whitelist wallets and stuff like that through their lead programmer for a little bit of loop, and you had to kind of rewrite their entire software so it worked with Raven, and so that's why it's taken quite a bit longer than what we originally.
And that's expected. Okay, because it's a brand new house, and so it's taking us a little longer. With the materials and labor shortage, it's taken us a little longer. So it kind of all works out. It's all going to work out the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. The house is not. It's pretty far from done still, and we've ran into labor issues, and it seems like everyone that is a subcontractor for us in the last month has gotten COVID at least once. And so even we're putting an addition on our house, and I don't think anybody's worked here in 3 weeks, just because, well, we were sick for the last 2 weeks, and so we didn't have anybody here. But it's
between them and you guys, that's tough. Well, so for the average person that's watching that has nothing to do with tokenization or knows what a tokenized asset is, could you give basically an investor's point of view of, like, if you bought the token from you, what did they get and how do you see it working a little bit so they understand?
Absolutely. So at least the way that we're tokenizing real estate, there's probably, a dozen different ideas you come up with on tokenizing real estate. And our main focus is income producing single family residential. So essentially just single family rental properties.
Right.
So the way that it works is you take a corporation, whether that's, you know, a Wyoming corporation or a Delaware corporation or whatever, and that corporation becomes a wrapper for the real estate. So that corporation has one asset, and that's going to be that real estate. And so the value of that corporation is essentially tied to the value of the real estate. And so when you tokenize real estate, in at least our case, what you're actually tokenizing is the company. Because
cool.
Yeah, so you're tokenized. It's just like shares in a corporation, just like
Sure.
Microsoft or Apple or whatever you want to go and purchase. So it works exactly accounting wise. It works exactly the same way. Every quarter we'll pay out dividends based on rent. The rent, we'll collect the rent, we'll pay the fees, we'll pay the taxes, we'll pay any whatever other expenses that the house and the company have, and then once a quarter, whatever's left over gets paid out as dividends. So
that's so cool. It's really cool to think about it, because it's like, I think so many people think of it so much as a tokenized house, but I think you really said it well, that it's a tokenized company that just simply owns the house, and that's the business model. So I think that should open people's eyes to, you can make a company and you can get assets and you can tokenize them, basically. So super cool, super cool. Well, I had something to follow up with that, but I don't remember. So we can just move on to the next thing, because honestly, to me, the mining thing is a lot of fun. So I kind of want you guys to talk to me about your farm, how big it is or small it is or stuff like that, what cards you use, what your favorite things are, and just what you like about mining and what you like about mining Ravencoin.
Sure. Is that a me question?
Yeah.
So our farm, we've got just over 300 cards, and we've got it's a great big experiment. We've got everything. Our highest end cards are like the brand new 3080 Ti's. And then we've got them all the way down to like RX 470s. Like all those R9 380s that we used to have, we've sold all those and got rid of them on eBay and whatnot. But we bought out a small farm, a bunch of 470s. Guy sold it to us, and he had a bunch of 470s that were made for mining, and like in like those panda miners or whatever. Yep. And so they have a great big heat sink on them, but they don't have fans. And so we've built our own kind of setup for that kind of thing. I don't know how exactly to explain it, but
what do you do?
Well, we just stack them really close together, and we get some like these, I guess you call them like Delta fans. They're computer fans, but they're like super high powered. They're not as like high powered as like the fans that they have on like ASICs and stuff like that, but they're still super high powered, and just really just try to get them close together and just blow air as fast as we can across them, and it seems to work. And then some of them I've bought some replacement graphics card fans, and then I just wire them right to the heatsink. It seems to work really well too. But other than that, I really, as far as different graphics cards, the only cards we're actively buying right now are 3060 Ti's, Gigabyte, the Gigabyte brand. We started buying the 3060. Well, the newest card, the 300 series cards. We got a bunch of 3080s. But those have gotten so darn expensive right now. And so then we went and bought some 3080 Ti's, but those things run, the memory on those things runs super hot with Raven. And I'm not.
Are you finding that you have to replace the thermal pads with those? Are you doing that at all? Or are you just letting them run hot?
You can, but it doesn't necessarily, they still run hot.
I see. And so with the 3060 Ti's, you like those both for power consumption and for heat management?
Yeah, so the 3060 Ti's are running about 30 and a half mega hash a piece. They run at 160 watts. And whereas the 3080 Ti gets like 58 mega hash or 58 mega hash and runs at like 330 watts. And the 3060 Ti, at least eBay prices, is less than half the price of a 3080 Ti. So it really, the 3060 Ti really hits that sweet spot when you consider all those different factors. But the thing with the Gigabyte though, so when we started buying the 3060 Ti's, I'm a big fan of EVGA stuff.
Yep.
And so we bought a bunch of those. But it seemed that about half of them came with Hynix memory. And so the Hynix memory, you take about a 2.5 mega hash hit on the card.
And the other is Samsung,
right?
Yeah.
And so Zotac, we bought. I don't know. I hate that Zotac brand.
I think everybody does. I think everybody's well aware of their heat issues by now. And if they say heat issues, I say Zotac. So
yeah. But the Gigabyte, we've got a whole bunch of those, and they are so far. They are all Samsung memory.
Nice, good to know. I might have to check that. And it's cool because so the 3060 Ti, 160 watts at around 30 mega hash. To compare, my 1080 Ti has 185 watts right now, and it's getting about 25 mega hash. Right. So it's crazy to see how the efficiency has really improved in that. So I think the 3060 Ti is basically what I'm looking for next to add to my rig. I only have 6 cards, but I started this, last year with 1. So I just, actually I messaged Sarah. Sarah was the first person I ever messaged about getting graphics cards and what I should look for. And she said, 470s or 570s. And I found 2 570s on eBay, about $200 a piece, got them from 2 different people. One of them came and it didn't work. And I actually the fans worked, it booted. I was just using Hive OS. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I could not get the thing to work at all. And I probably spent, 2 or 3 days of just like absolute frustration, booting and unbooting and trying different slots and everything you could possibly think of just to basically send the card back and get my money back and get another one eventually. But it's but I learned how do you do the BIOS? How do you edit a BIOS on a 470 or 570 and get extra mega hash? I wouldn't have known that without that struggle. And I've helped other Ravencoiners go from, Ryan from Just NFTs, he was running 8 or 6 570s and he was getting about 8 mega hash a piece. And we did the BIOS mod and he's getting 13 or something. So he went from I don't know, it was something like a 40 some mega hash almost increase or something like that after we got all the cards BIOSed and switched. So it's crazy that a 570 or something like that has to have the BIOS mod sometimes to really get the efficiency that we all know. And some people don't know that. So I think that's crazy.
Yeah. I really, if you like to tinker around with stuff, though, that Polaris series of AMD cards is the way to go, because there are a lot of different things you can tweak with those cards, not only the BIOS, but the different voltages and and all that kind of stuff. And it can sometimes get a little daunting and frustrating as well, like in your experience too.
For sure. I mean, I saw a YouTuber on doing Ravencoin, and he has a whole farm, I think 570s or something, and he had the voltage way down, and he was running them at about 12 mega hash or something, but it to the Hive OS, it was registering that they were running at about 60 watts, 65 watts, stuff like that, which, I mean, mine are running at, 13, 14 mega hash, and they're running at 90 watts or something like that ish, 80, 85, something like that. So, he says, sometimes people really go for efficiency. Some people don't mind spending a little bit, more power. But you guys sounds like you have a pretty large farm. So talking about, Kapow, do you guys suffer from heat? Like you said, I mean, your 470 rigs, you're just slamming them right there together and blowing air through them. What kind of temperatures is that getting?
Well, it depends on how cold the air is.
I heard that.
We're up in Wisconsin, so like right now they're running super cold because I just got windows open and it's like -5 degrees out. And
I think until last week we had our basement door is wide open. So anyone could just walk right into our house.
They'd be confused and overwhelmed, so they wouldn't know what to do.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of, well, you'll see it's kind of taken over our basement.
Which is why we decided to put this addition on our house, because the heat issues during the summer. We had a really weird summer in Wisconsin this last, I don't know if it was global warming or what it was, but we had like a week straight of like 100-degree weather, which is not normal here ever.
No.
Like you might get one 100-degree day in Wisconsin during the summer, and usually you don't. And so those days it was really tough. We didn't have any days that I had to actually shut anything down because it got too hot. There were days that I had to switch off from Ravencoin and go to like Ethereum Classic or something like that on like the 4 GB cards, because they couldn't handle that 100-degree weather. But other than those really extremely hot days, it's been really easy. And here it's really only above 80 degrees in Wisconsin for like 3.5 months.
Yeah.
I mean, 2.5 months. I mean, above 80, I guess.
So you guys kind of have a climate advantage over maybe some people that
I don't
live where it's humid and it's hot all the time. So
right. I don't know how people in like Arizona would mine Ravencoin, but I guess it's just velocity of air at that point, because if the cards themselves are running at like, I don't even know what the conversion of like 170, 180 degrees Fahrenheit themselves, even if you're blowing 100-degree air over the heat sink, it's still going to be losing heat. But velocity of air for sure. But
yeah, it seems like some Ravencoiners I talk to are like, in South America, or they're in India and maybe in Australia, like it's summertime in Australia right now. So I know it's just funny how, it ebbs and flows, I guess. So we have to suffer in the summer, then they got to suffer in the summer. And it's just about trying to manage it and do the best you can. So besides like it sounds like you guys don't have to do anything besides, maybe have your door open some. You're not doing any sort of extra exhaust or anything crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. We just went on Amazon, and they've got some big industrial fans you can get and like wall mounted. And so we just we took out 2 windows in the basement, and they're double hung, so they just pop right out. And then we just put a big industrial fan, and it just sucks air in one side of the house and blows it out the other. And so, that works really well. Even nice. got the cops called to our house at one point because of it. But
what was that like? Was it nerve-wracking for you, or you just bring them in and show them what's up?
Yeah, it was interesting because our electricity bill was, 10 times. They said it was 10 times what our neighbor's average electricity bill.
Wow.
So that sends up a red flag, and so
Yeah.
the utility company called the police department on us, and they showed up with the drug enforcement task team sitting in my driveway when I got home. But they all got an education on Ravencoin mining that
There
day.
you go.
And got a tour of my basement, and they took pictures and stuff, and thought it was pretty neat.
I can imagine that. It's kind of a cool story, anyways.
Yeah. I was a little mad, but I'm all right now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you just feel like your privacy's invaded a little bit, but I see it from their side a little bit. So
yeah.
So with mining, is there a certain pool you guys really like to mine to, or do you guys solo mine, or do you move it around and spread your hash around, or what do you do?
2 miners right now.
Yeah, I know it's like, we're approaching, I don't even know what percentage of the hash rate they have right now, since everything's been kind of crazy since the halvening. But yeah, we usually just use 2 miners.
Well, no judgment. It's just a general question, and I've used it plenty myself. And I personally, with my farm, don't notice too big of a difference between like them and the other top ones sometimes. But there are times where I mine on 2 miners, and I'm like, man, it does feel like I'm getting maybe a little bit more because they're solving more blocks and stuff. So
yeah, it just feels better to get that consistent stream of coins in your wallet. But I plan on moving it from 2 miners to something else, but I got to get through, once we get this addition done, I'll get with the addition, what we've got set up in there in the basement of the addition is like a hot cold aisle system. So we'll be able to, and it's more streamlined, so we'll be able to essentially pull a larger amount of air across all the cards at a higher velocity kind of deal, and they'll all be in one row, so all the hot air will be on one side and all the cold air will be on the other, and it'll be a lot better setup. And so when I go through, I'm going to kind of rebuild a few of them and get it all I'd really like all my rigs to just be very uniform and look nice, just for my own satisfaction.
Aesthetic. Yeah, I hear that.
But so I got a lot of rebuilding to do, because I still have a lot of like what I consider like my experimental rig builds that look pretty wonky, but they work. So once I get those rebuilt, then I was gonna just kind of revamp everything and maybe switch to a different one.
Yeah, no, I totally hear that. So the Ravencoin just had its first halving. To those that don't know, Bitcoin's been out. It's had multiple halvings now, and it's just the block reward itself is cut in half when that happens. And I've heard things on Twitter like you're going to have half your coins, or that half the amount of blocks are now being produced, and all these crazy things. But so all it is the block reward is now cut in half. Ravencoin in particular is 5,000 now to 2,500. So are you guys excited that it's halved, and kind of, well, how does that affect your farm? How does it affect you guys wanting to stay on Ravencoin or wanting to mine other coins? And what does 2022 look like for you guys mining?
Sure. So up until this point, before the having whatever, the our mining strategy was the cards that we have that mine ETH the best, we mine Ethereum on that, just enough to be able to sell that Ethereum and pay for our electricity, essentially.
Very cool.
And then everything else we have on Ravencoin. Since the halving, we've decided the best strategy is to change the strategy, because right now we've got several of the rigs on Ravencoin still, but otherwise all the rigs are mining whatever is the most profitable coin right now, which is mainly ETH. And what we're doing now is the strategy now is mine it and sell it right away and buy more GPUs. And then as soon as we've got a little recovery in the Ravencoin price, then we'll be able to, we'll have even more rigs to put on Ravencoin.
Honestly, that sounds like a very intelligent way to go about it, because I've been thinking, my ways, like I have 6 cards, and it's not crazy amount of money either way I do it, and switching to ETH to me it's a little bit more profitable, obviously, but it's very interesting to hear how people that have more GPUs are able to basically create that capital expenditure to make that money, to make more graphics cards, to keep making more money. And so basically, your goal is
compound. Yeah, it's like a compound return almost. Right?
Yeah, that's super smart. And you're doing it as the smartest as you can as a business, because you do, as the business, want to be bringing as much money as possible to continue going down that line. So for someone that doesn't have maybe that stream of income that you guys have from your cards, that are able to buy more cards, what do you guys think is a good entryway to, in your opinion, start out with mining in general? It doesn't have to be Ravencoin mining, but if someone's looking to get into it right now, which is probably a tough time with the GPU market and everything, but what would you recommend?
So essentially, if you're just buying one card, you're going to have to buy it off eBay, unless you get lucky at Micro Center or something like that. But I have not been able to buy any GPUs in the last year retail. You can scour eBay, and if you are patient, you can find a great deal. Every once in a while, I find a 3060 Ti non-LHR for the LHR price. So it's just because people sell them on eBay because they don't know what they have.
I see.
Yeah, so sometimes you can pick up a $1,300 card for $800. So that would be ideal if that's your price point. Otherwise, you like the 4. So I think you're going to be able to mine Ravencoin with 4 GB cards for another year and a half, I think. I'm not exactly sure.
You're close there for sure.
Yeah. So if you can get a 460, a 480, a 570, a 580, 4 GB card, sometimes you're finding them on eBay for under $200. And if you do that, and it's a good card, I mean, your return on investment on that is 6 months, I think.
Yeah, most of my cards that I was buying last year, me calculating it, was about 6.5 months to get my money back if I'm spending $200 on a 570 with the way Ravencoin price was most of last year. So it was good. It's interesting to see as a small farm, a lot of my shares were I use a Raven miner, so I was getting around 1 Raven, basically every time I got the block or whatever, and then it's right at the halving, it went right in half, and then as the difficulty left, and the hash rate left, I started to make more, all the way back into 0.7 or 0.8. If I was making 1 before, I wasn't too far off my profitability, a little bit, maybe 30%. So, but considering it's a halving, 30% is not so bad. So my strategy, honestly, with my small farm is I'm just covering power, and I'm just hodling Raven, and I'm hoping that it's going to, pay off, and trying to add more cards slowly. And I'm kind of letting some of the cards mine to one wallet, where I'm saving that money and looking to buy other cards, and with the other, it's 3 and 3. It's 50 or about 60 mega hash on one and 40 on the other. So it's not, I don't have a big farm, but it has been such a fun hobby to do. It's
Absolutely.
been awesome being in the Ravencoin community and talking to everybody on Twitter. And it's such a cool space. It's such a supportive space. I've never seen people care about other people the way they do. It's weird. it's like their family, you know, just
Yeah.
because you put Raven Blocks in your name, everybody knows you or everybody's cool with you. So, you know, add the blocks if you like it. But so back to tokenizing and just wrapping some things up. What are your future plans of tokenizing? I imagine that this is not going to stop with the first house. So what's the plan after the first house? And where do you see it going? And then after that, I got one more question. We can go from there.
Okay. Yeah, so we are hoping actually moving forward that we're going to be looking into previously owned homes versus the new construction. We like that as our proof of concept for this first project, but we do want to, you know, give a better return to investors. And I think that's going to be through previously owned homes where we can make some improvements, finish a basement, you know, some cosmetic updates, things like that. So that's kind of our plan moving forward. We can also
combining more than one. So there's
yes.
overhead costs for the tokenization. So like we've got, you know, fees for DigiShares and other technical fees and whatnot. So it's the first house we're doing is proof, like Sarah said, it's proof of concept. It's not going to return like a substantial amount of money for an investor, but with our next project, we're going to combine a whole bunch of previously owned homes together in a, you know, we not only, you know, I'm in construction and Sarah has been is a real estate broker, and we've flipped houses for the last, you know, we bought our first rental property 20 years ago, 21 years ago, and and we've flipped a dozen or so homes and fixed to rent. We've done a whole bunch of that and whatnot. So we know how to take a house and make it a really good investment, and get a really good return on people's investment. But then,
very cool.
But then after that, then
well, we've discussed another farm. A bigger operation than what we personally have here. However, we're having some trouble finding, you know, the right property. And, you know, we've considered land, but we're having some struggles finding the right fit for us now.
So, tokenizing a Ravencoin mining farm is what we're talking about. We thought we had some land. We were going to build a commercial building on it, and then the city was like, "Nope, can't do it." And then we found another plot of land where the city, it's a smaller town, and the city's like, "Yes, bring this to our town and whatever." But then they don't have the power requirements, and they'd have to put in $1.5 million substation. They're not willing to do that. But we've just recently found some land that is actually owned by an electric company. There is a brand new 10 megawatt substation there. And so we're really trying to make that work. The only thing is I'm trying to pin them down on an electric rate, because that's going to kind of be the linchpin as to whether we get like some big investment or we don't get any. Because, like, you know, I see some of these electric rates, like in down south, especially like Texas and whatnot, like 3.5 cents a kilowatt hour and whatnot. I don't know if that's real or
it's
not.
10 cents here in North Carolina.
Yeah, and that's residential. And like at our house, the residential rate is 11 cents. But I think I'm trying to just pin them down on because we've got off-peak rates and you know, peak rates, and the off-peak rate is like, I think like 4.5 cents, but there's also a demand charge, and, you know, which is a different thing with industrial rates and whatnot. So I don't know if those people saying they're getting 3.5, 4.5 cent rate kilowatt hours actually do, because they're not including the demand charge in that rate as well, like an effective, like if it's an actual like effective electrical rate, because I'm not finding anything anywhere close to those prices, but they're a lot lower than we're getting right now here in our house. So it would definitely be worth it, and it'd be very profitable. And then with that and if we could get that one piece of land with the substation right on the adjacent lot, I mean, then we've got, I think they said they could give us 6 megawatts of power, which would be an outrageously huge mining farm.
Yeah, you guys could do a lot. And so that's the same way it'd be a business that's tokenized, and the business just brings in the mined crypto, correct?
Yep. And it could be you could run it as a Ravencoin sync. So we mine Raven and we don't sell it. It just accumulates in a wallet. And then you can trade the asset token, and then the asset token should increase in value depending upon how many Ravencoin are sitting in the big wallet for the project. Or you could just pay the Ravencoin out as dividends, monthly, weekly, whatever.
That's crazy. I have a 2-story detached garage that I thought would be so cool to turn into a farm if I can get power to it like that. And so, it's like, I'm younger than you guys, so it's like I'm thinking about in the future, what I can do, and trying to get inspiration from people that are doing it right. Like you guys said, you bought a rental house 21 years ago, and I'm 29. So it's like I was 8 and you guys had your first rental. So I don't ever compare myself to people much older than me, but I look for inspiration, and I want other people to as well. I mean, I think part of me mining Ravencoin is a little bit like hoping that I'm mining Bitcoin back in the day. I think everybody does a little bit, but I think if you look at it and you look at how they compare and what the coin is and can do, then I don't know, I'm just so bullish on it myself. So it's crazy. It's crazy to think what you can tokenize and how it's going. And Sarah, do you know much about Brick's token that he's put out?
I unfortunately I missed all of yesterday's space. I had an appointment, and then I only caught part of today because I had another one. So I don't know a ton about it.
Well, all I heard, it sounds like the Justice is like the same way, where he has the rental property, but he's also going to be acquiring some NFTs and I think some crypto. And I think it's going to be kind of similar like that, to how you guys do things or how you plan to do it. But it's like, if you get his token, it's like you kind of have exposure to NFTs and to crypto and to real estate, which is like, so when you start thinking about what you can tokenize, and that you can tokenize like multiple different things, and under that, I guess, one token essentially is what it sounds like he's doing. It's crazy. It could be crazy for investors, and it could be crazy even for people that don't have tons of money to be able to get some sort of access to this investment.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I that's one of the things I think is so cool about how we're doing this, and I find it exciting because as an agent, I come across a lot of people who want to invest in real estate and are like, well, especially in this market, I don't have $300,000 in cash to just go purchase a rental. So this is a totally different way of being able to invest and start small and grow as you want to.
I caught half a Brick's space yesterday, and we sit here for the last year just racking our brains on all the different things we can do with real estate and tokenization or whatever. And then he brought up, like, he's like, oh, I'm not paying dividends. We're taking all the income from the properties, and we're buying the top 10 cryptos and just holding it in treasury for that company. And then he's like, and then we're gonna buy some Ravencoin NFTs and just hold them. And I just, I just was like, man, maybe that's what we should do with our second project, because that's a really cool idea.
We've been thinking so traditionally.
Cool. Yeah, like, I don't know. The thing is like, you could give your investors that dividend. They could take that money and they could go buy Ravencoin or Bitcoin or whatever they want, or they could just buy the token, and then any cash flow just gets sunk right back into Ravencoin, and it just sits there and it never hits the market. So it's kind of like a deflationary action, on Ravencoin itself, because if you had 100 properties, or not even 100, if you had like 20 properties and using all the rental income to buy Ravencoin, that's probably like 20 some $1,000 a month just of Ravencoin getting bought up every single month, just taken out, and it'll just be taken out of the market, never to come back. And then with that though, then people's token price would increase, or should increase,
Yep.
With the value of the real estate and the value of the Ravencoin. So it's kind of
That's so cool. I wonder if people will, like you said, he has that company and he's buying cryptos and holding it for the company. So it's like, it kind of gives you buy this token and now you have access to these 10 cryptos that you maybe would have never invested in before too. So it's just, that's crazy to me. It's like you're buying a token, but you're essentially investing in crypto, a house, and NFT. It just blows my mind.
It is. It's amazing.
Yeah. A whole basket of assets.
Yeah, perfectly explained. It's like an ETF for a company essentially, but you're buying a token that gives you access to these things almost. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I think we've been tossing that idea around for the last day, and I think we'll probably incorporate that into at least one of our projects.
Yeah,
it seems like you guys will be able to kind of pick and choose different ways to do things, and you can watch people innovate like you're doing, and see what's happening. That's about all the questions I have for you guys. If you guys have anything that you would like to touch on that we didn't touch on, that you just have a desire to talk about at all, please do. Or any questions for me, please ask.
So is dog training, is that your full-time gig?
Yeah, so I started working at a dog daycare in 2013, and I decided I really liked dogs, wanted to be a dog trainer. Started like a group class, taught myself dog training. Did that, worked at the dog daycare till 2018. And then I started working for a board and train trainer who keeps dogs at his house. And so he basically, taught me his system and how he trains dogs. And I worked for him for like 2 full years. And then he basically got to the point where he's like, you can either be my full-time trainer, where you come to basically like the facility and help train dogs, or you can start your own business and not work for me. It's kind of your choice, but this is what I can pay you if you want to work for me. And at the time I was kind of like still working at the dog daycare and working for him. I mean, I was working my ass off, frankly, but it's, so I was like, well, I'm used to making this much money and you're not offering me that. So I guess I'm going to go start my own business. And so obviously I had his blessing and he sends me business, but that was basically 2020, right when the pandemic hit, right? Is when I'm starting to start my business. So luckily for me, in May, I got my first dog to train. And since May of 2020, I've not been without dogs to train. I did take a break, here at Christmas time to spend time with my family. I got a dog that's getting dropped off tomorrow, but I basically run a system where I, condition dogs to an electric collar on a super low level so that they understand remotely how to, perform obedience commands and to be totally off the leash and to be a very obedient dog basically in 2 weeks. And then I take the dog back and show the owners, this is how you communicate with your dog. And I basically give them unlimited follow-up help after training, because like I've trained the dog, I understand how the dog knows to communicate, and it's the people that I have to change. So it's super rewarding. I was at a lesson today and, like I use a shock collar. It does not shock dogs hard. People that have electric fence for their dog, that shocks dogs way harder than I ever do, I promise. So, and it's a muscle stimulating tool. I have people feel it on their hand before we ever put it on the dog, but it's like that misconception, so I try to really just educate people more than anything. That's my biggest thing, is like education for the humans, and I've kind of tried to apply that to Ravencoin a little bit, where I was like, man, I know so much about it. I can sit here and talk about it to people all day long, and people can tell my enthusiasm when I'm talking about it. So I'm like, well, maybe I should put some educational content and get people to know what I know, and get people to see, you can mine Ravencoin. This is what I think Ravencoin could maybe be like one day. I have no idea. No one really does. But I think people that like understand crypto and understand Bitcoin and understand decentralization will see where things are going. And I think Ethereum is just like, because Ethereum is the way it is, and there's so many ETH tokens on that platform. Like, that's why Coinbase can get Sheeb and stuff on there like that so fast. It's just already implemented into the system, and Ravencoin's a totally different thing. I mean, I don't know how hard it is to implement for them. So, but that's just kind of how I think about things a little bit. And I'm just trying to make this content so that, more people are aware of Ravencoin, that it exists in the first place, and kind of how to use it, and what some people are in the world are doing that will maybe inspire them. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Did you see Leon's tweet that the Coinbase application changed from submitted to in review?
I did see that, which made me think, as I was reading, more and more, it sounded like it's under review, and like it probably is just now getting under review, probably because of what I said about Ethereum and the onboarding of the token. I think it's harder for them to onboard Ravencoin. So I'm glad it's under review, and that could be very, very promising, or we could get rejected and have to wait 6 months. So who knows? But I feel like if they haven't got to it now and they're just now getting to it, it makes me like, why would they not list it? There's tons of transaction fees to be made on it. So I think as a business, it'd be stupid not to for them. But
right.
Yeah.
I think so too. It only seems it would work in their favor, especially with, and who knows if ETH is ever going to go 2.0 or whatever and go proof of stake. I don't know. I feel like Vitalik's been promising that forever, but if it does, then, they're definitely going to want to have Ravencoin, because I don't see any other coins, taking the majority of that. I think it's hard to say, because you don't know how much of that Ethereum hash rate is ASICs and what's GPU.
Yeah.
I guess the ASICs. I was talking to when we went on that Ravencoin cruise. We sat and I got to talk to Bitsby Trippin, Michael Carter, for quite a while, and he's confident that all those ASICs are going to go to Ethereum Classic. So there's going to be a huge hash rate go there. But then other than that, I mean, it's going to be Ravencoin, and who knows, maybe Ergo, who knows. I tried running one of my rigs on Ergo the other day, and it didn't go very well. I don't know.
Yeah, I've had actually pretty decent luck on Firo coin myself. I don't mind mining Firo too bad, because it's almost like it's very similar hash rate to Copao. So
oh, right, because they just changed that, right?
Yeah, they changed it to Firo Power or whatever.
Firo
so
Power, right.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think my hash rate was like almost exactly the same. It's very, very close on Firo Power. And they have, I don't know, it's Firo Power. It just seemed kind of cool to me a little bit, just reading about it and stuff like that. So there's so many options. I mean, I don't ever judge or criticize anybody for mining whatever. It is a business, like we said, and I think it's always smartest to do what's smart for the business and what's right for you. I mean, every decision or strategy has its pros and cons, no doubt. So right.
And mining other coins, selling them and buying Raven is good for Ravencoin. We have never sold a single Raven coin. We've spent some on it, like a lot of them on NFTs, but
me too, man.
And they gave some away.
Yeah, we just did that drawing that we gave away 3,000. Yeah, so
Well, it's so cool. I mean, you guys, what I would say, you're pillars to the community.
Thanks.
Honestly, you give me somebody to look up to, and I think you guys are doing some awesome things. You should be very, proud of yourselves and what you've accomplished in your life and what you're doing. It's super cool, super rad. I really, really appreciate all of your time and, just talking to me and giving me the story about stuff. And it'd be cool to do it again someday, and maybe come back in a year and see what's up, see what's changed then, So I've really enjoyed myself. I think this is a cool thing. And if you guys have any final thoughts, throw them out there. And if you guys have anybody you want to shout out to or anything like that, be my guest.
Yeah, no, just the whole Ravencoin community. Yeah. They're incredible. Just an amazing group of people.
It is. It's almost weird because everyone wants to help everyone out.
There's a few complainers out there, but everyone still accepts them back even after they leave.
Yeah, that's true. It's cool. Like I was actually talking to a guy named Fabio, and I think he lives in South America. I'm not sure, but we were just kind of talking about Ravencoin, and he actually gave me this idea of like interviewing Raven miners as a series, and which is kind of what kickstarted me to start putting out videos in the first place. And I just made that how to mine Ravencoin on Raven Miner, and I actually sent it to the guy on Raven Miner, and he actually sent me 500 Raven for making the video, 6-minute video. And then I was talking to him about it, and he's like, hey man, we don't have any video content on our page at all. He's like, would you really make like a walkthrough tutorial for me so we can put it on our site of like, how do you check the dashboard? How do you check your earnings? How do you do everything? And so, I told him I would do it, which is, it's just so cool. It's so cool how like I didn't think anything of it. I wanted people to be able to come on YouTube and figure out how to mine Ravencoin on Raven Miner if they had a computer that could do it. And that's what I did. And, that's the reward I got for it, basically. So that was inspiring right there. So I told the guy, I was like, look, man, I'm going to go upgrade my microphone, and I'm going to put that Raven back into my YouTube thing, and I'm just going to see what I can do with it. So, I mean, I can't do this series without people dedicating their time and giving me their time and talking about, Ravencoin and stuff like that. So I most certainly could not do it without you guys. So I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, I hope this goes really well for you. Yes. I mean, I'll watch them all.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate your support, and any way I could ever support you guys in the future. If you ever want to bounce an idea off me or just talk Ravencoin, you know how to find me. So
absolutely.
You guys have a great night, and I'll look to talk to you soon.
All right.
Sounds good. Thanks you so much.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.